Institute. My name is Lauren Scott. I'm the Director of Education.
And I'm Dave Shiver, the Environmental Educator.
And today we are here to talk about raptors, not the dinosaurs, but the type of birds, also known as birds of prey. So raptors have a couple of very special adaptations, different things about them on their bodies, or things they can do that make them a raptor. So we're actually going to take a look at one of our skulls over here. This one is from a great horned owl, and there's a couple of different things that we're going to point out on here that make it a raptor. So if you notice this very black curved beak, it's kind of hooked, it's super sharp. This is going to be found on all different types of raptors. There's also some really big eyes. Because this is an owl, these are going to look a little bit different on other raptors, but they do have great eyesight. Raptors also have very, very sharp claws. Hard to see on this because it's a little jellyish, but they do have very sharp claws for gripping. And the other thing that's important about raptors is that they eat meat. So the reason that they have those sharp claws is to be able to grab onto prey, and then they'll kind of use it like a fork. If you're holding a meal still, you'll hold it still with your fork, in this case the feet, and then you would use your knife to cut it. In this case it would be their beak. So they will tear pieces off while they're eating it. Owls are really interesting in particular because of course, they look really cool. But their eyes have a very interesting shape. So, true or false? Do owls have the ability to completely turn their heads around? If you said false, you're right. They have the ability to turn 270 degrees. So almost all the way around, but not quite. If you feel the bones on the back of your neck, those are your vertebrae. And we have 7 back here. These guys have 14, so double the amount. But because the reason that they have the long swivel to look around is because if you notice on this skull, they sort of have tube-shaped eyes. They don't have the ability to move their eyeballs in the socket. So whereas if you look forward, wait,
Want to do this? Move my eyes around?
Yes.
Owls can't do that.
Yes. So if you're looking forward and you want to look at something to your side, as humans, we can either look to the side with our eyes, or we can turn our heads and our eyes at the same time. Owls cannot do that. They can't turn their eyes to the side, so they have to be able to turn their head because their eyeballs are stuck and they can't go anywhere. Owls are also interesting because they are one of the species that's nocturnal, so they are out at night. Other species are diurnal, meaning that they are active during the daytime. And owls are also just really cool. They also have a very interesting digestive tract, which Dave's going to talk about.
Well, you know, as birds of prey, as Lauren mentioned, they eat meat, but they don't have teeth. They don't chew. So they tend to swallow large portions of their prey whole, and then it goes into their body, and they digest as best they can. And then the parts that they can't digest because of that, they end up coughing up into what's called an owl pellet. And these can be found on the forest floor if you know where to look and how to find them and whatnot. So this owl pellet has got a bunch of fur, and if you were to find these, they're not going to smell the best, but if you are brave enough to open it up, you'll typically find, bones inside of it, or whatever kind of animal it had eaten. So you might find a skull, like of a mouse or something like that. So that's what they do. They can't chew, so they swallow everything whole, and what they can't digest, they just cough back up later on. That's what makes an owl pellet. So those are fun things you can dissect if you can find one on the ground to figure out what the owls are eating.
The other interesting thing with owl pellets is that scientists will use them to help learn more about the owls in an area. So for one, we find an owl pellet, we know that that owls are there, and then they can also dissect them to determine the different types of prey items that they're going after. So if they're noticing a lot of one type of prey versus another, it can help us determine populations of prey populations. It can tell us a lot of different information. The other raptor we're going to talk about today are vultures, specifically turkey vultures, because we have so many in our area. If you've gone outside recently, you've probably seen a bunch of stuff circling in the air. There are some very large birds called turkey vultures. They're black and they fly in a V shape. So if you see arms up like this, their wings up like that, they are turkey vultures, or a type of vulture. With these guys, they still have that curved beak. It's not quite as sharp, and they also still have those talons. But with them, they're not really eating live prey. They mainly eat dead carrion. With them, that's probably why you've seen them circling, because they can smell dead animals from a mile away. So they'll find it, and then they go for it. Turkey vultures have a couple of really interesting defensive maneuvers. My two favorite to tell everybody is that when they get really hot, they will pee on their legs. And when they get scared, they will throw up. Think, for instance, if you're eating your sandwich and your sandwich suddenly throws up on you. You probably don't eat that sandwich anymore. That's the same way with these guys. If something's trying to eat them, they'll throw up. So they have a couple of really cool behavioral adaptations.
We have many species of raptors in the Alton, Illinois area, such as hawks, eagles, and falcons. So if you're a sports fan, you get all the different kinds of birds of prey covered right there. Trivia time again. So what's the fastest species of bird? That's also happens to be a bird of prey, and we do have some that nest on our property. Anybody want to guess? I'll give you a multiple choice. It's either the great horned owl, the bald eagle, the red-tailed hawk, or the peregrine falcon. And if you guess the peregrine falcon, you're correct.
Right now, TNI's trails are closed, but if you're interested in looking for bird species out in the winter right now, you should head to the Audubon Center at Riverlands, pretty close to TNI's campus. Campus? Oh, anyways. Otherwise, we'll see you when our trails open April 1st. Dun, dun, dun.